Governor Andy Beshear has delivered his final budget to lawmakers in a combined State of the Commonwealth address earlier this week. As the legislative session begins, we are still waiting to see what is in the House GOP's budget proposal. Governor Beshear is positioning his budget as one centered around affordability and answering increased demands on the states from the Trump administration. It has a big housing ask, calling for $150 million in the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, continuing funding for SNAP and Medicaid, and funding universal pre-K in a more moderate ask than years past.
I am proud to report once again that the state of our Commonwealth remains strong. But our people, our Commonwealth, and our country are facing serious new challenges, and it's our job to meet this moment.
In a joint statement from leadership on Wednesday night, they wrote, "Our legislative focus will remain on protecting core investments, ensuring responsible stewardship of taxpayer dollars, and avoiding commitments the Commonwealth cannot sustain." Senator Bledsoe, you were one of the few Republican lawmakers that was there at the speech that night. More highlights than I mentioned were brought up during that speech. What do you think may get some support?
I think there'll be several areas of agreement. First, I agree with the governor that Kentucky's economy is strong. We're a great place to live, work, raise a family, and so you see a lot of great support and momentum around the economic environment here in the state. I think you'll see a lot of support around nuclear energy, which is something he highlighted. We've seen quite a bit of investment from the federal DOD as well as General Matter down in Paducah, and so that's an area that I think you'll see some strong agreement and strong support.
Representative Donworth, Senate and House Democrats released their platforms this week. How similar are some of those budget recommendations y'all are making from what was in the governor's proposal?
Well, actually, on Friday, we filed the governor's budget bill in the House, which was essentially co-sponsored by all of the House Democrats. So we are very much in alignment with what the governor's asks are. Pre-K for all is a big one for us. Housing as well. We have several ideas that are in alignment, if not total agreement, with what the governor proposed. Housing, food security is a big one. I think we all saw during the federal shutdown how dependent we as a state are on SNAP and WIC programs. So trying to make sure that we don't have people in the Commonwealth who can't afford to eat. So that's another big focus for us. Housing
and pre-K are things we've discussed a lot on this program leading up to the session, and are things I imagine we're going to be hearing a lot throughout this session. First, let's talk housing. The governor is wanting an ask in the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Y'all made a proposal about a revolving loan pool of sorts. I can't remember that particular number. Where are Republicans likely to meet Democrats on some of these different housing proposals? It seems like that is one area where there seems to be a lot of agreement that there needs to be something.
Well, it's not just housing or affordable housing, it's housing affordability along the whole spectrum. And so if you're a senior adult who may own your own home and want to downsize, how do you find housing? If you're a working professional who wants to be in downtown or downtown Louisville, how do they have a place to live? As well as a small family who wants to buy their first home. So housing affordability is a little broader than just housing, affordable housing the way we typically think about it. And so I would look to the Housing Task Force recommendations initially as where you'll see a lot of alignment. And those were sponsored by both members of both chambers and both parties. And so I think that's a good start. I think you'll see some also agreement about a revolving loan program. That's an Indiana model that we've talked about before, which I think has been pretty productive. But all those have budget items and budget line items. So we'll have to see how those fit into the context of the whole.
All right, now let's move on to pre-K. Representative Donworth, you're going to be carrying the pre-K bill this year. You told me this week there's still some work being done on that. You had the governor, really hammer that during his State of the Commonwealth. What's ultimately going to end up happening with this? If you all come to an agreement in the House, you'd still have to get it through in the Senate, where Senate President Stivers says there's really not much of an appetite for pre-K, but they are interested in something around child care.
Which I've found those comments very interesting, because pre-K, in my opinion, is a way to prepare our kids for school and better get them ready for K through 12. But it has the added side benefit of addressing some of our child care issues. And so I think that there could be more alignment than potentially than what President Stivers referenced there. And ultimately, I hope that this doesn't become a partisan fight, because ultimately it's about doing what's right for our kids.
If the GOP comes up with a child care alternative of their own, how likely do you think that your caucus would get behind it?
Well, I think for me, I want to make sure that our kids are set up for success. And so if it is a quality child care, making sure that people have access, first of all, have access and then can afford to pay for child care, and that it's good quality childcare, then I will absolutely be behind it. To the rest of my caucus, I obviously can't speak for them.
Senator Bledsoe, what does this debate look like right now in the Senate GOP?
Well, I don't think it's politics. I think it's just practicality. And that's the biggest challenge, I think, with pre-K for all. I had my kids in preschool. I think there's no doubt that early education is important to success for our kids. I think we found that even those kids who don't have pre-K, by third grade, typically have evened out. You don't see that differential that you see maybe in kindergarten. And so the context of the whole, again, most of those child care centers and programs are dependent upon the newborns all the way up to kindergarten. So when you take out a big portion of the higher number of kids, which obviously pay more in tuition, you disrupt that model. And so you can't just pick one piece without looking at the whole thing. And so I think to your point about childcare, the Kentucky Chamber has come out with pretty strong recommendations on maybe a more holistic approach than just a pre-K program. And so that's the debate I think you'll see. And I agree with President Stivers. There hasn't been much support right yet to move forward with pre-K with all without addressing the overall childcare issue.
We have a, go ahead.
To add in just a little bit, the proposals that have been put forward would actually work with existing child care providers so that they could actually contract with the state so that they would be able to also benefit from it. So I think that is a little bit different than what some people have been portraying it.
Which is an interesting model when you have public school dollars and general fund dollars going to private institutions and nonprofits and maybe outside the common school system. It's okay for pre-K, but maybe not for K through 12 education, which I think provides this is part of the concern I think we have with some of those models, which seems to be somewhat not in congruence.
All righty, y'all. I'm interested to see the final version of these bills, if they get a hearing, and how they move through the process. Looking forward to it.